Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, send questions and comments to our Twitter page, on our YouTube channel, or on the Facebook event page for episode 197. So Mote It Be. As for introductions, my name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, in Fairfax, Virginia. And also in Virginia, we have Jason Richards.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Jason Richards here, past master of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and finally done with all the masterly duties as of this Saturday, and member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C.
You said duties.
Yeah,
Robert
duties.
Johnson.
Hey guys, Robert Johnson, past master, Waukegan Lodge number 78, Waukegan, Illinois, current sitting secretary and district deputy grand master for the 1st Northeastern District of the great state of Illinois.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks.
Okay, first up for Masonic news. In case you haven't heard, Masonic Week's coming up. That would be February 8th to 11th here in the DC metro area. A lot of different bodies are going to be there, mostly York Rite. So
none of whose sessions you can actually go to, unless you're invited.
They're so special, even I can't go. But I will try to go to the.
Call that a good opinion body.
Oh, what's the quote from? Was it Mark Twain about the? Oh no, it's a Groucho Marx. Like I would not like to be part of any membership that would have me as a member.
Yes, yeah, that's Groucho Marx.
Yes. So like that, coming over to some of the events. I'll be there Thursday night to go check out some of the Allied Masonic degrees, and most of the day Saturday to have a good time with Grand AMD Council and other.
You gotta hang out with my boy Zach Plunkett. He's coming out.
Zach's coming.
Oh,
Zach's coming. Yeah. So you guys got to show him a good time. He asked if I was going. I was like, dude, I have taken way too much time off this year, like in prep for other stuff. It's just not happening yet. But yeah, you gotta show him a good time, get him a drink or something.
Alrighty.
I'll pay you back.
So Zach Plunkett's going to be there. John will be there. I will be there. Mike the intern will be there.
What?
Mike's coming?
Mike's coming. He's coming to stay with me.
I'm missing out.
Yeah. Eric Diamond will be there. Jason Van Dyke may be there. I'm going to say probably.
Huh?
Dang.
We still won't be able to get anything, but we'll be there.
Yeah. We'll be there, like, asking for spare change outside of the hotel to pay for parking.
Can I come in?
Spare a bread fro from your cheesy buffet dinner.
Good stuff.
I don't think you'd want any of the food from their $150 fundraiser dinners.
I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I do have to say, the other day I was scrolling through Facebook as usual, and I came across a picture of a really neat post. It was a festive board that was happening at a lodge. Won't say where or anything. They're all over the United States, so who knows? But the Masons were dressed to the nines. Like, these guys looked so amazing. And they had this great plastic blue tablecloth with I was like, oh man, come on, guys. You guys are like dressed so well, like, but that's
And it was
every
chilly
lodge.
night. Like,
It was chilly night, whatever. Yeah, that's every lodge. Mine included.
Great.
Sorry.
Looks like we also have Juan Sepulveda joining us.
hey,
Juan. Looking rather sharp. He's getting his IT set up.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, brother.
Man, it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, let's move into this week's topic, which is a very passionate one. If you've ever been on any Freemasonry group on Reddit or Facebook, and that is on the topic of So Mote It Be. So tonight we'll talk about where it came from, how to use it, when not to use it, Masonic etiquette, how to be yelled at in the group for using it the wrong way, and all sorts of other ways to.
And everybody else who uses it outside of the Masons. That's going to be a fun topic tonight too.
Oh, I don't believe it. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, Pixar didn't happen.
Right. So
next time you're at a Wiccan like festival.
Well, hold that thought, Jason, because I know you've been doing your research on that. Let's start things off.
What do you mean by that?
By
It's strictly research.
yes, outside the Wiccan parties. Let's define literally what the term "So Mote It Be" means. So I'll start off with the actual literal definition, and then we can kind of jump in with how it could be applied, and then we'll get into where we see it. So if we start with Mackey's encyclopedia talks about that it comes from the word mote, from an old Anglo-Saxon word moten, meaning, quote, to be allowed, as in the phrase "so mote it be," meaning so may it be. You hear it used in the same fashion as amen or so mote it be. There's
or inshallah, God's
Inshallah.
will be done, etc.
Right, because it's a compulsory. It's a command basically that let it be said. A little bit longer etymology of the term from the Middle English moten, that it means to be allowed, be able to have the opportunity to, or be compelled to. And I think that's kind of how it's really used in the Masonic sense. So it's very archaic in its etymology. It's not being used in current things. If you try to search for mote, the best you'll find in online dictionaries for the most part will be mote, meaning like a speck or a mite or sawdust or something like that. But that's the Old English definition. How is it used Masonically? Robert, where do you see "so mote it be" used as by the Freemasons?
So for us, it's really used heavily. Like the first time you're in lodge, you get a degree or whatever. Of course, you weren't there for the opening. You're there for the closing of the lodge. You're an EA, and they say a closing prayer, and they end it with, everybody in the lodge is like, "So mote it be." And you're like, because you don't know what to say. Nobody told you. And you're kind of left wondering. Typically, it's done after the prayer in the beginning of the lodge and at the end of the lodge. That is, in the state of Illinois, that is how it's used. And of course, as Masons are watching this, they know like it's injected other places. But this is, in my state, the only time it's ever really used. It's just at the end of the prayers. The chaplain says, "Amen," which, interestingly enough, has its own etymological story, but it ends with "so mote it be." Everybody responds with that. It's kind of like when you go to church, right? And the pastor says something along the lines of, or something like, "God be with you," and everybody else, and also with you, something like
And
that.
with your spirit.
Yeah. So it's just used as a response in that way in a Masonic lodge anyway.
Okay, so Jason,
Go ahead.
take it away.
So I was going to say, interestingly enough, when you look at "so mote it be," not only was it used in 15th century manuscripts like the Regis Poem, as well as the Hallowell manuscript, but we do have scattered historical references to that phrase being used in 15th century medieval Christianity.
So hold that thought. Let me talk about the Regis Poem for 1 second, and then we'll go back to that, because it is mentioned twice.
I had an actual thought, but No,
there's
go
a first
ahead.
for everything. Because I wanted to quote that individual piece of the Regis Poem. Remember, we did an episode on the old charges of Freemasonry, and one of them is the Regis Poem, which was dated around 1390. It's pretty old, and it's actually a poem that talks about how basically the Masons set up their tradescraft, right, and how their guild structure at a very high level, but it's very flowery language. It's Middle English, so there's a lot of, it's almost illegible to today's term, but twice in the poem they say, grant me this bliss without end, amen, amen, so mote it be. And at the very end it says, amen, amen, so mote it be, so say we all for charity. So we can date that phrase, so mote it be, at the earliest time frame, around 1390. And then take it away, Jason, for some of the Christian context as well.
And so, like I said, yes, the Regis Poem of 1390 is really our oldest historical documentation of that at least we've been able to date, of the use of so mote it be, or some form thereof. And then, but we see scattered references to that phrase being used in the 1400s in medieval Christian churches. And in the context of that early expression, within the Christian context, so mote it be really implies both a wish for and a hope of realizing God's will. So it's like that inshallah phrase, God willing, it will be so if God makes it so, or it's God's will to be so. And I want to kind of foot stomp that, just because when we get to some of the modern uses of the phrase so mote it be, you'll see a distinct transition away from God's will to more self-centered personal will. But we'll talk about that later on.
Interesting. Juan, where have you seen so mote it be used in right, wrong, or indifferent in the jurisdiction of Florida?
Well, in Florida, just like RJ was mentioning, is part of our daily, our stated communication. So at the end of any kind of prayer, after usually you'll follow the chaplain in his you listen to the prayer, and whenever he says amen, everybody together says so mote it be. I haven't seen any particular edict or anything written as to any prohibition of it being mentioned in public. And I was racking my brain trying to remember when I went to the funeral of Masonic funeral of a friend and brother. I'm almost sure that everybody said so mote it be at the end of the prayer. So it can't be, at least here. Yeah. There's nothing secretive about it. It's just it's an expression that practically accentuates a desire of something to materialize. So, but that's how it's used over here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think in the Grand Lodge of Virginia, they talk about it being used as a ending the prayer in pretty much all Masonic ritual. And so I guess by that definition, and we'll talk about where Virginia has drawn a line, that ritual could be both public and or private at that point, right? So is it secret? Doesn't say, but it is part of a ritual. Therefore, that's when it's supposed to be used. Maybe, I don't know. All right, Jason, continue and carry on. So,
so we have kind of the earliest usages of this phrase, in of course, the medieval stonemasons guilds, as well as the Christian churches of the day. Again, the stonemasons guilds may have adopted it simply because it was part of the common liturgy and the common vernacular of the day. And its adoption by the craft guilds and eventually Freemasonry impacted other areas of philosophy and other organizations as well. So we see throughout the ages that actually Aleister Crowley makes a great deal of references to the phrase "so mote it be" in his own Thelemic writings. So we see scattered references to that in Aleister Crowley, excuse me, writings as well. It also makes its way into the Rosicrucian rituals and rites, specifically in Amorc. And eventually it of course
What's
finds...
an Amorc, for those who don't know what an Amorc is? Like Amorcamindi.
That's your expertise, John, not mine.
It's the non-Masonic Rosicrucians organization.
Yep. Co-Rosie.
Go Rosie.
It's actually, so I've actually read quite a bit of the stuff, great stuff, just FYI. You mentioned some of the writings. There is some mention also of my angle on So Mote It Be, as far as it's used in a lot of the occult stuff that I study and read, stems from law of attraction and the way that works. Some of that is written about as early as like 1901, not nearly as far back as anything Jason was mentioning, but just in some early writings like books like As a Man Thinketh, or I mean, there's even ones like The Science of Getting Rich, those kind of books like from early 1900s, basically, books that tell you how to reframe consciousness, right? So like by saying "so it will be," you are telling the world how it will react. And
you talked about positive affirmations past a previous episode about the law of positive attraction. And let me fill in your words and you correct me or add to it.
You're wrong.
That once you have this subconscious or externally conscious desire to have something done, and I'm a believer of it, that if you say that I'm going to, do great at work tomorrow, then you come with that attitude, your efforts mirror your intent, right? And that goes back to some of the Hermetic Kabbalion things of the mind, right? That first there had to be the thought and the intent, and then it was so done. So what I'm hearing you say is that even in a So Mote It Be, it is less of a closing and more of a finale, right? A statement of intent.
Correct. Yeah, it's a statement of intent, and essentially it's kind of like you go back to some of the early thoughts, like Hermetic thoughts of the idea of the ancient way of thinking and the modern way of thinking. So like, even though I'm a very much science-based individual, I don't necessarily recognize the idea of matter-induced consciousness, rather the reverse of consciousness-induced matter. So within that like spectrum is this idea that things only exist because of the perception of their existence, or they exist because you've thought about them enough and you've made them happen. A really good guy, George Plummer, wrote a book, a Rosicrucian book actually, about how things come to man when man is ready for them to come to them. Like there's no original thought. Like it all comes from somewhere. And some of his examples that he wrote about in 1908 were like Marconi and Tesla working on the same things, didn't know, like, where does this idea come from, right? Like, so they're receptive to it. Man was able to pull this idea in. They start working on it. This kind of idea of the ability to manifest your thoughts. So, we say all this good stuff, and then we say, "So mote it be." And we are essentially saying as a group, as Carnegie would say it, or Carnegie, however you want to pronounce his last name, would say it's your think tank, it's your mastermind. And so by that many consciousness focused on the one thing, you are dramatically increasing the ability and the likelihood that it happens. But the science behind that is interesting too, because it's not like it's somewhere between magic and reality and psychology, right? Like, you are, by doing this, you are manifesting it. And you said it best, John. The way you put it was, I don't even know what the words you used, but when you said it, I was like, that's it, right? Like, it's very simple. You're like challenging yourself, or you're meeting the challenge that you set for yourself. Like, you have brainwashed yourself into making this happen. And so there's a lot to that.
And so, kind of jumping ahead with that, one of the ways where we see So Mote It Be most prevalently in today's society is in the Neo-Pagan and Wiccan movements. And they use it as a closing clause to their magical rituals and their various rites. And it's interesting how you talk about the idea of speaking something into being, or manifesting something because you're thinking about it. And with those writings at the turn of the 1900s that you were alluding to, Robert, that's really where you see the shift from the focus on God's will be done to no, my will be done. And that's where the modern neo-pagan movement has actually taken that phrase. So it's much less of an emphasis on God and much more of a personal affirmation that this will occur because it is my will.
Yep. So that's where you go in with like thelema and whatnot, do without will. But also, I mean, a lot of these systems really allude to the divinity of man. And even some Christian sects acknowledge this idea of the divinity of man. The idea that man is the incarnation of God. And even in some respects, after many, thought projects or whatever you want to call it, but like God knew everything but what it felt to be destroyed. So he destroyed himself and in such created the universe. And we are exactly God experiencing himself coming back together. And so like when we die and we go back, we're going back to the pleroma or back to be with God or however. But yeah, I love how you tied that in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
No, that's okay. No, I mean, it's, it's interesting to see how this, kind of commonplace phrase in Masonry has had some very different cultural and sociological connotations throughout the ages. And, it's very interesting to see how the same phrase has morphed into different, the same words of power, but in a completely new and different context.
I know we recently had a conversation, and I can't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about the fact that, Freemasonry doesn't seem to be, 1,000 years old. There seems to be a somewhat agreed upon date range between, 16th century. You have an evolution, right? And in the formation of Freemasonry, it is inevitable that as it developed its own rituals, its own practices, its own vocabulary, it's borrowing from different philosophies, and it's borrowing from different religions, it's borrowing from different cultures. But it gets to a point where it feels so well formed that now anybody who is within things, they appropriate these terms and practices and rituals as like, no, they are ours. There's as if completely ignoring that there's an influence from other places. And you, of course, see that now with the So Mote It Be astringent effect in social media. It's like you think you splash acetone in someone's.
Is there a Facebook? There's got to be a Facebook group called So Mote It Be. I mean,
There
there just has to
be.
I said I'm joining it right now.
You go. If it's not, we got to start it.
Yeah.
If one of you guys out there listening starts it, invite us. It's gonna be.
But I mean, so you actually use an interesting term. How the millennials, right, are all offended by cultural appropriation, and that's technically what's going on here. As Jason laid out, there's a lot of historical context to a phrase that not only is being adopted by a certain group or certain spin-off groups, but then given constraints about when that term can be used. And so let me take that time to now shift into specific rulings by the Grand Lodge of Virginia. It's never been really put out in an edict or anything like that, but they did have in their Virginia Quarterly statewide magazine,
The Virginia Masonic Herald.
Virginia Masonic Herald. I'd show you my copy on my desk, but well, I will. But my daughter's got a hold of it. It's like my dog ate my homework.
I'm pretty sure that was just the cover wrap. Where's the rest of the magazine, John?
It's in there somewhere. There's a centerfold I was really enjoying. This
No.
Wait,
That's the old one. That's last year's.
Grand Lodge of Virginia's official ruling on there was a Q&A in 2007, I believe, that said, I heard we should only say, quote, so would it be, and quote, when it is part of a prescribed ritual prayer. Is that true? Answer, yes. Several issues ago, I wrote the same response and listed the only places where it was to be used. So would it be is not to be used at any other time than that in which our ritual prescribes it. You have all been doing a very good job of changing your habits as of late. I very seldom hear someone slip and say, so mote it be, except where prescribed in ritual. That, for example, you would end a prayer at the open dinner for the reception of the Grand Master with Amen, and not so mote it be. I got to say, here in Northern Virginia, I hear so mote it be at the end of every dinner prayer, all the time, every time, like clockwork.
Everywhere.
So there you go. So do any of the other jurisdictions, Juan or RJ, do you have any sort of guidance on when SMIB should be used or not used?
I didn't come across anything, but I'll have to admit I didn't dig as deep as Jason did on this one. But I've never had anybody reprimand any or bring it up to anybody's attention. And it's almost one of those things like, try to stop us. Like, seriously, if we're out in public and all the brothers are, they're praying for dinner and they say amen, a good number of them are going to say so mote it be, whether the wives are there, whether new visitors are there. And, I don't see anything. I don't see anything wrong with it personally, but
RJ, what say you?
Yeah, so I will say that as far as any kind of, edict or, even mouth to ear stuff, the only place that it says anything in any of our materials is at the end of the ancient charges in our Grand Lodge Constitution of Bylaws. It says, amen, so mote it be. I mean, it's very simple stuff. There's nothing that says we can't do it. It's just not really addressed.
Anderson used it in the 1734 Constitution. So can we.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, I think if you understand the context and what the words mean, there's a right way to use it and a wrong way to use it. I mean, if you're praying or whatever, I don't ever see how that could be used not correctly, right? I mean, like, you're praying for something and you're wanting it to happen, so you're declaring that it will happen or that it will be. Of course, we all see misuse. But as far as in Illinois Freemasonry, I see it at funerals, I see it after dinners, I see it before dinners, I see it, anywhere there's a prayer, anytime there's the blessing or whatever you want to call it. It's just out there and they use it. There's nothing that says you can't.
So let's switch over to then kind of the prevalent use of it today, which is social media. And Juan, I'm going to target this question more for you as the creator and admin of admins, master of masters of all of the administration done for the Winding Stairs Freemasonry group, one of the most popular, the most popular Masonic group out there. Where do you see Mote It Be or the initials SMIB being used, and what kind of reactions that get from the online community?
Well, good question. The instances in which you see it the most from younger Masons, and these are relatively young members of the organization, almost as an expression of excitement when someone says a powerful message, or someone explains something in a way that they can identify. They get overly excited and write SMIB or Mote It Be. The strongest reactions against such a practice, you get it from more seasoned members, a couple of generations removed from these younger Masons, and they describe it as a lack of reverence. Now, if we want to be well-rounded men, well-rounded Masons, we are to pay attention to those virtues, and reverence is one that often gets clumped in with just religion. But reverence is just that expression of respect for something that is solemn, something that is something that should be respected. So you can see like very visceral reactions to the misused quotes of Mote It Be.
So then, in your personal opinion, Juan,
Mhm.
based on that, how should it be used online? In Juan's opinion only.
Yeah, in my opinion, I like reserving Mote It Be for, like I said, that accent to a prayer, to an affirmation, to some sort of expression of desire. When you think of Mote It Be, meaning so should be it, or may it be so, and you see it's how it connects with amen, how it is practically the same expression. You're saying so should it be, or it's almost a hope of something like that happening. Now, this is more of that personal part. Like the way I look at prayer, I don't necessarily see it as me sending a message to deity and expecting him to get on it and do some stuff for me. I don't see prayer in that context. I think prayer is more of my way of aligning my thoughts in order to allow things to happen. When I go to bed every night, I do say, most of my prayers are in appreciation. So I thank God for the opportunity of a new day. I ask him for the opportunity to see another day and to be a better man every day as I progress. And having that affirmation at the end, when I say I'm amen, or when I say so mote it be, it's almost like that deep exclamation of desire that I really hope that happens. I really hope that it goes beyond just words and it actually materializes, which also comes with that other religious expression that I really like, abracadabra. Abracadabra is with my words I create. And it's all related. It's that desire that just by speaking it, you're able to create. And there's one more detail that I wanted to mention about that expression of desire for something to materialize. Is that transformation from words to actions and actual fruition of your efforts. It's when in our busy lives, we're constantly, thinking, consuming media, consuming different things, and we have this cacophony in our mind of thoughts and ideas, and unless you externalize those things, you are not able to focus that energy. Just like a laser, you have all these photons inside of a chamber bouncing incredibly fast at the speed of light. And that chaotic vibration of energy contained within one chamber, and it's only effective when that chamber, the energy within that chamber is focused and released into a single point. And I see the same parallel with our words when we say our prayers, when we express something that we want to make materialize. It's taking that chamber of our brain that is so congested with all that energy, and we're actually sending it out into the world to create something we want to see materialize.
Dude, I love that. That is awesome. That is a great explanation.
Thanks, brother.
Jason, how should SMIB be used? Online or out in the world? In Jason's opinion.
So I really think you can use it for whatever you want. I think any person who, that Masonry should not have, or Masonic leadership should not have a hold over a specific words that you can and cannot use, with a couple notable exceptions.
Right. I mean, you have the obvious secrets of music.
But I mean, if you want to say an archaic phrase and insert that into your vocabulary, then so be it. I mean, that's fine.
So Mote It Be.
However, I will say the thing that irks me about the rather flippant use of the phrase on social media is you have a bunch of brethren who are just simply parroting back what they've heard at lodge, with no thought as to what they're actually saying. And so I would say, if you are someone who has actually thought about what those words mean, and you have judged those words to be appropriate in a given context, then do it. Go forth and conquer. But when you're just simply parroting back something you've heard because it's what the Masons say, all the time, that's where I think I draw the line. But at the same time, it's a free country. You can do what you want. I'm just going to laugh at you because you haven't taken the time to research what is supposed to be a deeply meaningful and deeply empowering phrase.
I wanted to ask you something, because that made me think of when you have that very casual SMIB thrown out there, right? It makes me think of what?
I want a product. I want something that says the casual SMIB.
The casual SMIB.
I need it. So good. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
All right.
It's like a bad diner.
Yeah. Let me write it down so I can make a shirt for you.
There you go.
I drop casual SMIBs. But that makes me think of the proclivity to abbreviate stuff on that in modern men, like modern people. They LOL, WT whatever, and you have all these TLDR. I'm in my late 30s, so that one I wasn't aware of until I started hanging.
RFLMAO.
Yeah. So it's almost like, okay, what can we crunch into just a couple of letters and make it Masonic, and so it's like the Masonic LOL, SMIB, the Masonic LOL.
Well, it's funny. We're not the only organization to do things like that. I mean, government is chock full of acronyms and whatnot. My college fraternity actually has a bunch of abbreviations like OAS, AAS, LLS, and things like that. So it's just like, it harkens back to your thoughts that there's actually a proclivity among the population to shorten things and abbreviate things.
Very true. I'll ask Robert the same question. Where is SMIB appropriate?
Gee whiz. I would say wherever you want. I mean, if you are, in my mind, going through the motions of the appropriate use for that, in my mind, is when you are doing something and you are trying to proclaim something or trying to make something happen, or you're trying to influence, whether you believe in that kind of thing. I think that's appropriate. For whatever population, the majority of the country that is religious, after a prayer, like I'm relatively certain that after prayers, you're not, wishing evil things or whatever, right? So in that aspect, you're out there, you're putting out goodwill with prayer, right? You want to end your prayer with "So Mote It Be." Yeah, that's cool, right? I mean, it's probably more appropriate than "Amen" if you look at, where those items came from. I think it's just appropriate whenever you want to use it. But like what Jason said, it is kind of interesting, and it's kind of annoying when somebody's like, just quotes Pike, like, the greatest of these is charity, and then some dude, SMIB. Like, is that like period? Is that like is SMIB the Masonic mic drop? I mean, I don't get it. I mean,
it's the Masonic like.
Yeah,
it's the Masonic like button. That's what it is.
SMIB. It's
By the way, you're misusing charity.
We had a brother in the Winding Stairs group when we first started it, and he, very wise, very respected man, very active in other groups, but he would lose his innards anytime anyone would write SMIB. And like, he would come in a rampage, like, how dare you.
Yeah, it's so good. They drew first blood.
Yeah.
Remember your oaths.
Yeah. No, it seriously got to a point where
that's another show. We got to do Remember Your Oaths.
Yeah.
Nick Johnson's got to be on. Yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable with using it, use it. I mean, unless you're in a jurisdiction that says you can't, but whatever, right? We want to make sure we're remembering our oaths.
Yeah, but you're also risking looking dumb.
Let's be. There's nothing in my oaths that makes any reference to "So Mote It Be," by the way.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think, personally, I don't ever use it on social media. I don't use it for, ending a post or anything like that. Although I think there's a value in using that when you're trying to reach the when you're trying to reach those kind of brothers who really identify with that, like they love it, and so, if you got to use that phrase to drive home a point, then do it.
But not to show that you like a tattoo. I guess that's where I draw the line.
Should I get a SMIB tattoo?
Oh, please don't. On top of
I won't. I mean, I won't. I got enough tattoos. I don't need a SMIB tattoo, but
across your forehead.
If you're listening and you've got a SMIB tattoo, you got to put it up in the Winding Stairs Facebook group
right away.
Oh my God.
I will like it. I will like it. And I won't even make fun or anything. I think it's cool. I like Masonic Inc.
Yep.
So I only use SMIB on social media in reference to Grand Lodge posts telling us we can't use the term SMIB.
Good.
Well, that's so you.
True story.
Are not using SMIB out of context from the Grand Lodge of Virginia, because if we were to say "So Mote It Be" or SMIB or SMIB, then we would be violating the Grand Lodge of Virginia terms and conditions.
Dang, Jason, you're a smug smibber.
Yeah.
Hey, it's that time, guys. We need to switch over to social media because everyone's got an opinion about the SMIB. So, Jason, what have we got on social media?
All right. So Donnie Dillon says best hashtag of 2018. No, it's not hashtag Big Red Button. It is hashtag the casual SMIB.
The casual SMIB.
Brother Rusty Valet. Sorry, Rusty. The only time I saw the phrase outside of Freemasonry was a shop called So Mote It Be in Fort Myers, Florida. His shop was closed for the day when I encountered it, but it was a metaphysical supply store that looks like it's permanently closed. Interesting. So in that case, so Mote It wasn't.
So Mote It went.
So Mote, there it went. Yes. Brother Donnie Dillon actually had some really good context about the neo-paganism movement that I wanted to get to. He says that the phrase "so mote it be" is very prevalent in Gardnerian Wicca because Gerald Gardner had deep ties to Freemasonry. And so he actually brought a lot of the Masonic structure to Gardnerian Wicca, which has colored a lot of the modern Neo-Pagan movement. So you simply just don't see this phrase associated with other forms of paganism, particularly Reconstructionist or traditional pagan forms. So again, why did the part of the Neo-Pagan movement adopt "so mote it be"? The Freemasons.
Yeah, I mean, and that is true because if you look at the modern Wiccan movement, which is a relatively new movement,
Hence Neo.
hence Neo, right?
When do you update that term? It's like the Neo Pagan.
Yeah, that's true. When do we do that?
I hate that. They do that with art too. And it's like, all right, there's going to be a time where it's going to be old. Neo is going to be old.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Platonic movement, and you have the Neoplatonic movement. It's been quite a bit since the Enlightenment era when you were talking about Neoplatonism.
Right.
So, can we just call it Platonism Part 2, 2.0?
Too much Platonics reminds me of high school.
All right, what else we got, Jason?
Oh, let's see. So responses to our, is "so mote it be" actually on Facebook? Yes, it is. It's a closed book or a closed group, excuse me. We also have "So Mote It Be," which is a website that sells rather interesting Masonic wares. We've got "So Mote It Bacon." We have to throw a shout out to brother JPG.
Oh my god!
Because that's absolutely amazing. Now, getting back on topic, brother Rob Jackson says Massachusetts has no real legal requirements or restrictions that I'm aware of. Any Masonic prayer or blessing, public or private, is closed with "so mote it be."
Makes sense.
And interesting. Michael Overturf says he said it was actually explained in the "So Mote It Be" was actually explained in the book "Workman Unashamed" by Christopher Hafner. So I need to go back to my bookshelf and look that up because that's a fantastic book.
Yeah, I think you let me that copy.
Yeah, you
So
probably
what
still
you're saying
have it.
is it's behind you.
Yeah. I'm noticing a pattern here with the book lending. It's going to rupture your friendship.
I am just
cut that
as
out.
bad. I've had Alchemically Stoned for 3 or 4 months now.
What goes around comes around.
I know.
Who needs
Yeah.
Amazon when you got Jason Richards?
We're just John and I are just slowly trading each other our own Masonic libraries.
My philosophy with lending books is the same as with money.
Don't expect to get it back.
Only lend what you're willing to lose. So that is it.
So that's all we got for social media.
Wait, you forgot the best meme of all. One shared by John T. Ruart. Oh, we got the psychedelic version of that again. Let's try this again.
Me, the casual smith. That's really good.
The meme of
Go ahead and share RJ's as well.
That is.
My terrible Anchorman meme.
oh yes, we got the Anchorman meme. It's true. There we go.
60% of the time, SMIB works every time.
Here we go.
That would have been more clever than what I actually wrote.
That's
My takeoff was "When in Rome." Yeah, that's not really how you use that. Mote It Be.
I'm not even mad. That's amazing. All right, gents.
No whammy.
Let's start wrapping things up.
Whammy! Sorry.
Big money. Let's start with Robert Johnson.
I love SMIB.
And final thoughts.
I love SMIB.
I love SMIB is what Jason is saying in the background. My thoughts. I kind of already said it. If you're going to use it in terms of practical use, I think you can use that spiritually how you need to use that. If you need to use that in writing to drive home a point to some brothers, I mean, whatever you got to do. I do think it's silly to use it on on Facebook or whatever, when to me, I see it used as a Masonic mic drop. And I'm like, because I always, there's a lot of guys out there who will tell you, and, Masonry is a lot of things to a lot of different folks, and there's no real mic drop statements unless you're dealing with hard facts, which we don't have. We have a lot, but we don't, as far as ritual goes, it's debatable. But I hope you guys all enjoyed the program. I'm going to kind of go off script here a little bit. Just within the first 10 days, January 8th, we lost Dr. Bruce S. Fisher. So those of you who are listening, who know Dr. Fisher's work, he's passed away, and I just want to send condolences to everybody who read his work and knew the man. He was an incredible individual. And we lost a huge, incredible, beautiful mind when it comes to symbolism, research, and it's just hits the community hard. So thanks for watching this show. So Mote It Be.
Yeah, thanks. Robert, thanks again for, when I found out about his passing, you sharing your episode, your interview with him, and going back and listening to that brought back some good memories. So yeah, I echo that. Let's switch over to Juan Sepulveda. What say you?
As always, very entertaining and enlightening to very, very spicy to engage in these conversations. I appreciate it. And it's a light subject of sorts. It's something that we came up with pretty much based on people's reactions to its use and the reaction from Grand Lodges to its use. I just think that if at all possible, use it with the reverence that it merits. It is, I think it's one of those positive and powerful affirmations that you can use at the end of the expression of a desire or a prayer. So use it carefully, use it with moderation, SMIB responsibly.
With great SMIB comes great responsibility.
We're making a collection of these.
These are coming.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just think about that. You see a tattoo that you think it's cool, writing SMIB underneath it. I think it's kind of corny. I would discourage people from doing it. If you want to do it, but personally, I think it doesn't fit there. Now, if you're expressing condolences to somebody, and you say something that really was beautiful, and someone follows it with a Mote It Be, not so inappropriate, in my opinion. So I think it's going to be on a case by case basis, but just remember, there are things that are intended to be solemn and treated with respect. Regarding social media, I wanted to mention that the live chat on YouTube has been incredible activity every episode. It grows and grows, And the community that spends some time there are doing an amazing job reporting anyone and marking as spam anyone who comes in and makes inappropriate noises in there. We want to make sure that the YouTube community doesn't feel neglected, because like they're the ones that are spending the time there watching our show. So thank you to Devin Winchester, Joe Martinez, G.A. Turner, who recently found our program and is really enjoying it. Alex George dropped in from Australia, and Nicole Vercetti, almost certain I pronounced that correctly. So we have people from all over the world expressing their opinion and learning from the things that we have learned and shared. So thanks to each and every one of you for doing that. And finally, I'll invite you to go to freemasonryart.com so you can see the collection of art that I've created to help brothers remember to the lessons that are part of our fraternity. Make some of these part of your collection. And I really sincerely hope that every time you see them, you find inspiration in them and you connect even deeper to all the things that brought you to Freemasonry and make you a better man and Mason. So Mote It Be.
Thank you, Juan. Jason.
All right. So Mote It Be. Interesting part of Masonic ritual. I love the fact that we can just kind of dissect it and take a look at its etymology and the sociocultural implications of the phrase, as it's morphed throughout history. When it comes to using "so mote it be," I don't see a problem with using it if you've really thought through the power that those words possess. Because if you know anything about if you know anything about this show and even Robert's presentation on the Tetragrammaton, it's that words have power. Words have very, very real power. So if you're using it in a manner that aligns to and is respectful of the power that those words possess, then I say go forth and do good things. I think, but when it's used flippantly or with disregard for the beauty and the power of the phrase as it's been used throughout history, that's where I think we just kind of cheapen it. And I liken it to taking a look at the overall beauty of the Masonic ritual and the initiatic experience, and just kind of, the candidate or brother who just doesn't pay attention to it and doesn't really care about it. The Masonic initiatic experience can be very transformative, and it can be incredible and leave a lasting, indelible impression upon one's mind and life. And that's a power that words have, if you pay attention to them. So, another quick reference to "so mote it be" in popular culture that I wanted to share with you guys is actually in Led Zeppelin's album 3. In their vinyl pressing, they actually inscribed several Aleister Crowley messages, one of which was "so mote be it." They kind of switch the letters up, and then also, of course, as we've talked about in our OTO episode, "do what thou wilt." So that's it's very, very interesting. And I'm going to stop screen sharing because the screen's going crazy. So this creeps up in pop culture a lot, and when it comes down to it, I think we can safely say that "so mote it be" really has gained prevalence in today's pop culture due to its heavy use in Freemasonry. It was adopted by Aleister Crowley. It was adopted by founder of one of the Neo-Pagan Wiccan movements, who also was a Freemason. So it's very interesting to see the influence of Freemasonry throughout the history, and how just little archaic snippets can find their way into modern verbiage and modern usage through centuries, if not millennia old fraternity. So that's all I've got, John. So mote it be.
Thank you, Jason. Let's see. In conclusion, yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm more of the lodge is a sacred space kind of guy. When you look at it as a contemplative practice, and so I equate the use of "so mote it be" the same way we would use the term "amen." And so if you think about when you would use the word "amen" in even like social media, you really have to stop and think about, is this appropriate in the sense of am I channeling the divine? Am I channeling intent as I'm saying this? And the worst part is I also see amen being used inappropriately as well on social media, right? Because it's like, hey, here's a picture of Jesus. Press like for an amen, and share for a God bless you. Like, really, like Jesus is not going to hate you if you don't share his picture on Facebook. But Robert alluded to it a little bit. It probably deserves its own show. But if you think about amen having its etymological roots as well, right? That has a sacred connotation that goes with it. I'll save it for another episode. But really use it when you're really admiring the divine, admiring the intent of what was previously said. So that's all I got. This has been fun. I learned a lot, and thank you for watching. So mote it be. Have a good night.